This topic is estimating a tip without a calculator, and it says estimate a 5% tip on a bill of $87.42 by first rounding the bill amount to the nearest $10. Our bill was $87.42. The 8 is in the tens place. We're going to look at the 7, and that's more than halfway to the next 10. Remember that when you're doing this, it's kind of like a big hill here, and we have $80 over here, $90 over here, 85 right in the middle. We're at 87, so we're over here. We're going to round down to $90. So first of all, we have $90. Then we want to find 5% of 90. And I think I'm going to first do this by figuring out 10% of 90. 10% of 90 means 90 divided by 10, which is 9. And then 5%, so that's 10%. 5% is going to be half of that. I can divide 9 divided by 2. And if you can't do that in your head, you can work that out. But half of 9 is going to be 4.5. So your estimated tip will be about $4.50. This one says estimate a 15% tip on a dinner bill of $48.21. First round to the nearest $10. Just like before, we're at $48. That's more than halfway between 40 and 50. So we're going to go up to $50. We're trying to find 15% of $50. I think I'm going to start out with 10% of 50 just because those are easy. So 10% of 50 is going to be 50 divided by 10, which is $5. If we want 5%, it's going to be half of that, which is 2.5 or $2.50. But we want 15%, which is really 10% plus 5%. So we're going to add the $5 plus the $2.50, and we get a tip, an estimated tip of $7.50. And one more example, estimate a tip of 20% on a dinner bill of $179.36 by rounding it to the nearest $10 first. And on this one, we have $179 to the nearest 10. That's going to be closest to $180. Remember, we're not rounding to the nearest 100 on this one. If it was the nearest 100, it would be to $200. But to the nearest 10, 179 is closest to 180, not to 170. We want 20% of that we're going to give as a tip. I'm going to start out with 10% because that's really easy. 10% of 180 means 180 divided by 10, which is $18. We want really 2 of those because we want 10% plus 10%. So I'm just going to add 2 of those together. 16, and that's going to be $36 as our estimated tip.